As you grow older, you begin to see the world with greater clarity. You recognize the power of words and the weight they carry. The things you share can shape perceptions, shift relationships, and define how people treat you. In old age, discretion is not just a skill, it's a necessity. There are certain things that should remain private, certain thoughts and experiences that should not be laid bare for public consumption. Wisdom lies not just in knowing what to say, but also in knowing what not to say. Money is not just a tool for survival, it is a force that shapes relationships, influences perception, and dictates power dynamics. In old age, the way you handle and discuss your finances can determine whether you are respected or seen as an opportunity. The moment people gain insight into your financial standing, they begin to view you through a different lens, whether consciously or not. This shift in perception can bring about unintended consequences, affecting the way family, friends, and even strangers interact with you. When people know too much about your wealth, their intentions may become unclear. Some may approach you with flattery, offering exaggerated kindness in hopes of financial gain. Others might resent your position, feeling entitled to a share of what you have earned. These social complexities create a delicate situation where your financial openness can be used against you, leading to potential exploitation or broken relationships. Protecting your financial privacy becomes a necessity, not just a preference. Family dynamics are particularly susceptible to financial tension. Children and grandchildren, consciously or unconsciously, might begin to calculate their expectations around your wealth. Conversations may shift subtly from your well-being to discussions about inheritances, assets, and financial planning that benefit them more than you. You might find that certain family members start treating you differently based on their assumptions about what you have or what they believe they are entitled to receive. Friends, too, can be affected by the knowledge of your finances. Some may become envious, distancing themselves because they feel inadequate or inferior. Others may begin to rely on you financially, assuming that your generosity should extend beyond reasonable limits. Relationships that were once built on mutual respect and shared experiences can become transactional, with your wealth becoming the unspoken third party in every interaction. Even those with good intentions may unknowingly change their behavior toward you. If you are perceived as wealthy, people may hesitate to invite you to modest gatherings, assuming that you prefer extravagant experiences. They may feel uncomfortable discussing financial struggles around you, creating an invisible barrier that isolates you from genuine human connection. If you are perceived as struggling, on the other hand, pity can replace respect, and people may begin to patronize you rather than treat you as an equal. The risks extend beyond personal relationships. When word spreads about your financial situation, you may attract the attention of scammers, fraudsters, and opportunists. These individuals are skilled in exploiting the trust and goodwill of older individuals, using manipulation and deception to gain access to wealth. The elderly are frequently targeted because they are often assumed to be less technologically savvy or more emotionally vulnerable to persuasive tactics. Even within professional spaces, revealing too much about your finances can put you at a disadvantage. Financial advisors, estate planners, and legal consultants should operate in your best interest, but their recommendations may be influenced by the size of your assets. Unscrupulous professionals may encourage unnecessary investments, excessive fees, or complex arrangements that ultimately serve their own financial gain more than your security. Knowledge of your wealth does not always come with the expectation of protecting it. There is also a psychological impact to sharing too much about your financial standing. When others are aware of your wealth, you may feel an increased pressure to conform to expectations. Whether it is hosting extravagant family gatherings, donating generously to every cause presented to you, or financing the ambitions of relatives, the unspoken obligation to meet these expectations can be exhausting. The burden of wealth is not just in managing it, but in managing the perception of it. Conversely, if people assume you have little financial stability, they may limit their expectations of you in ways that diminish your influence. They may exclude you from important decisions, assuming that financial resources are the only factor in offering wisdom or contributing meaningfully. The assumption that wealth equals competence is a dangerous one, and it often leads people to underestimate the true value of life experience and personal insight. In old age, financial independence is not just about sustaining yourself, it is about maintaining control over your life. The more people know about your financial situation, the less control you may ultimately have. Decisions about where you live, how you spend your money, and what kind of medical care you receive can become influenced by those who believe they have a say in your affairs. The more you protect your privacy, the more you safeguard your autonomy. There is a significant difference between planning your financial future and inviting unnecessary scrutiny. Estate planning and financial management should be done with trusted professionals, but even then, it is crucial to remain actively involved in every decision. Blind trust, even in family, can lead to unintended consequences. The people you assume have your best interests at heart may also have their own motivations, and without careful consideration, their financial security can be compromised. Money is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for both construction and destruction. The way you manage your financial privacy will determine how much control you retain over your life, your relationships, and your peace of mind. Whether you have much or little, the principle remains the same. Financial discretion is not just about protecting wealth, but about preserving dignity, independence, and the ability to engage with the world on your own terms. Regret is a weight that grows heavier with time. The past, with all its missteps and failures, lingers in the mind, replaying moments that can never be changed. In old age, those regrets may feel even more pronounced as the years behind far outnumber the years ahead. Yet, sharing those regrets too freely can have consequences that many fail to consider. The people around you may not respond with the understanding or compassion you expect, and instead of relief, you may find judgment, dismissal, or even exploitation of your vulnerabilities. There is a natural human desire to seek closure, to talk about the mistakes of the past in the hope of making sense of them. But not everyone is capable of receiving such confessions with the nuance and maturity they require. When you share your regrets, you expose yourself to interpretations that may distort the reality of your experiences. Younger generations, in particular, often see past mistakes as a failure of wisdom rather than as lessons learned through hardship. They may take your struggles as proof of incompetence rather than as a source of valuable insight. Regret is often tied to relationships, words left unspoken, actions taken in anger, or opportunities missed due to pride or fear. But when those regrets are shared openly, they can shift the dynamic between you and those around you. A lifetime of hard-earned authority can be eroded in an instant if the listener perceives your past mistakes as evidence that your judgment cannot be trusted. Instead of admiring the strength it took to overcome those mistakes, they may begin to question your ability to offer guidance. The human mind tends to simplify the past, often reducing complex situations into black and white narratives. But reality is far messier. The regrets you carry might not even be entirely yours to bear. Perhaps circumstances beyond your control played a role, or perhaps what seemed like a mistake in hindsight was simply the best decision you could have made at the time. Yet, when you speak of these regrets aloud, you may find others unwilling to see the complexity, choosing instead to define you by a single moment rather than the entirety of your life. People are often more comfortable categorizing others than understanding them. The moment you admit to a past failure, some will use it as a reason to undermine you. They may feel justified in dismissing your advice, believing that your history of mistakes invalidates your perspective. The wisdom gained from experience may hold little weight in the minds of those who believe that past errors are an indication of permanent shortcomings. Family members in particular may struggle with seeing the full complexity of your past. Children and grandchildren often hold an idealized or simplified view of their elders, and revealing deep regrets may shatter that image in ways that cannot be undone. The burden of your past may become their burden as well, not through empathy, but through disappointment or even resentment. They may view you differently, treating you with a cautious distance instead of the respect you once commanded. Regret, when spoken aloud, also has the power to define you in the eyes of others. If you speak too often of your mistakes, you risk becoming the sum of those regrets rather than the person who grew beyond them. People may come to associate you with failure rather than resilience, with past errors rather than present wisdom. Instead of seeing you as someone who has lived a full life, they may begin to see you only through the lens of your confessed missteps. Even in friendships, regret can create unexpected distance. When you share too much of your past mistakes, some friends may start to pity you rather than respect you. Pity is a corrosive force, subtly altering the way people treat you, stripping away the mutual regard that once defined the relationship. Where there was once camaraderie, there may instead be an unspoken divide, as they struggle to reconcile the version of you they once knew with the one who now speaks of past failures. The act of dwelling on regrets can also shape your own perception of yourself. The more you speak of past mistakes, the more they become an active part of your present identity. Instead of moving forward, you risk becoming trapped in a cycle of self-recrimination, reinforcing the belief that those mistakes define you. Speaking of them too often does not lighten the burden, it cements it. making it harder to separate who you are now from the person you once were. Regret is not always a burden to be shared. Sometimes it is a lesson to be carried silently. The mistakes of the past hold value, but only if they serve as a foundation for growth rather than as an anchor of shame. There is strength in learning from errors, but that strength is diminished when those lessons are laid bare before those who cannot appreciate their full significance. The most powerful wisdom is often unspoken, understood only by those who have lived it. The ability to recognize past mistakes is a sign of growth, but the ability to move forward despite them is a sign of strength. What you choose to share and what you choose to keep private will shape how others perceive you in your later years. There is no obligation to confess every regret, no duty to expose every past failure. The weight of your past is yours alone to carry, and how you carry it will determine whether it serves as a reminder of wisdom gained or a chain that keeps you bound to a version of yourself that no longer exists. Family conflicts are among the most emotionally charged and deeply rooted struggles a person can experience. They carry history, unresolved tensions, and layers of misunderstandings that stretch across generations. In old age, the temptation to share these conflicts with others, whether to seek validation, to set the record straight, or to gain sympathy, can be strong. However, discussing personal disputes openly can have unintended consequences that may erode your dignity, weaken relationships, and expose vulnerabilities that others may use against you. When you speak of family conflicts, you invite others to interpret them through their own biases and perspectives. What you see as a justified grievance may be perceived by others as bitterness or stubbornness. People rarely take sides in the way you expect, and their reactions may disappoint you. Some may dismiss your pain, others may judge you, and a few may even weaponize your words for their own gain. Once shared, your personal disputes are no longer fully in your control. They become stories for others to retell, reshape, and misinterpret. Your children and grandchildren may be particularly affected by the details of family conflicts. They may feel pressured to take sides or reevaluate their relationships based on your perspective. This can create unnecessary divisions, damaging bonds that might otherwise have remained intact. You may find that instead of gaining support, you have introduced tension and discomfort into their lives. They may begin to see you not as a source of wisdom and stability, but as a figure entangled in old resentments that should have been laid to rest. Sharing family conflicts also risks reshaping the way people view your legacy. Instead of being remembered for your strength, kindness, you may become associated with grievances and unresolved disputes. People may begin to define you by the conflicts you discuss rather than the wisdom you have gained from them. A lifetime of effort and accomplishments can be overshadowed by stories of discord that do not serve your best interests in the long run. Even when shared with close friends, personal disputes can have a negative impact. Friends may listen sympathetically, but they may also grow weary of hearing about conflicts they cannot resolve. Some may even distance themselves, not wanting to be pulled into emotional entanglements that do not concern them. What begins as a search for understanding can turn into an unspoken burden placed upon others, making your presence associated with negativity rather than inspiration or companionship. People tend to judge conflicts based on their own experiences and values, which may not align with yours. When you share your disputes, you risk being advised by those who do not fully understand the history, emotions, and complexities involved. They may offer solutions that are simplistic, uninformed, or even harmful. Worse, they may spread the information you have shared, distorting it in ways that fuel even greater misunderstanding and division within the family. One of the greatest dangers of openly discussing personal disputes is the way it affects your perceived authority. When younger generations hear of past conflicts, they may begin to question your ability to lead, to make decisions, or to offer guidance. A father, grandfather, or elder who constantly revisits old disagreements can lose the respect of those who once looked up to him. The dignity that comes with age is best preserved by showing restraint and wisdom in how conflicts are handled and remembered. Conflict, by its nature, is rarely one-sided. By sharing your perspective, you invite others to challenge it. If the individuals involved in your disputes become aware of your words, they may respond with their own versions of events, deepening the divide rather than resolving it. You may find yourself drawn back into conflicts you had hoped to leave behind, with old wounds reopened and new misunderstandings emerging. The world outside your family does not view your disputes with the same emotional weight that you do. Strangers, acquaintances, and even some friends may see them as entertainment, gossip, or a point of curiosity rather than as genuine struggles. This can lead to your personal matters being spoken about in ways that trivialize your experiences, turning your pain into a spectacle rather than a lesson or a moment of growth. In old age, peace of mind is one of the most valuable things a person can cultivate. Revisiting past conflicts, even in conversation, can disrupt the peace, keeping old frustrations alive rather than allowing them to fade. Speaking of past disputes does not erase them, it reinforces them, making them a continuous part of your present reality. The energy spent revisiting these grievances could be directed toward more meaningful, fulfilling aspects of life that bring contentment rather than distress. Even when you feel the need to clarify your side of a dispute, consider whether doing so will truly bring resolution. Many conflicts cannot be undone with words, and the pursuit of justification may only deepen the emotional wounds left behind. There is a strength in choosing to let go, in understanding that some truths do not need to be spoken to be valid, and that the most powerful form of resolution may come from within rather than from external validation. There is no obligation to carry the weight of old disputes into your later years. The choice of what to share and what to keep private is a powerful one. Choosing silence in the face of conflict is not weakness, it is wisdom. The past cannot be rewritten, but it can be left behind in favor of a present defined by dignity, resilience, and a focus on what truly matters.